Hello everyone, welcome to No Nonsense Whiskey Live. As always, I'm Vim PF and we are hitting live stream hard and fast today. I've made a little bit of changes to the live stream setup. If you've been watching me recently, you've seen we've had quite a lot of technical issues. For those in the know, I've been using Streamlabs OBS and that really hasn't been working for me. So today we've gone back to good old StreamYard, a nice paid service, but hopefully it'll be a bit more robust. We'll have guests in just a moment after I've said hello to the chat, but we've got a really good live stream, some good whiskies to share with you today, and hopefully you can all hear me and all of that stuff, and we shouldn't have any issues whatsoever today. That's what we like to see. But in any case, welcome to everybody. We'll do a quick intro and then we'll say hello to the chat. See you in a few seconds. There we go. Nice one. I don't think that played any sound. There you go. If that's the only technical fault today, then I'll be happy with it. But next time we'll have some sound. In any case, let's get into the chat. Say hello to everyone who's here. And then we'll bring our guests in for a quick tasting of their whiskies. But early doors today, we had a couple of people in. We have Donipass Whisky, who says Whiskey Novice is also live at the same time. But, you know, these things happen, unfortunately. There's plenty of whiskey tubers out there at the moment. So we do have, I guess, some clashing of scheduling, especially on a lovely bank holiday like today, because I think it's bank holiday here and it's Memorial Day in the US as well. So everybody's welcome. On that note as well, I should also say that if I look a bit red today, I am red. I was out in the garden over the weekend and doing some gardening. So I am a little bit sunburnt. But yeah, that isn't the lighting in here. That is legit my skin. We also had Eric Gunderson in. So he says able to make the stream today. So cheers, buddy. And also, I think we had, Alan Newland is in as well, also able to make it today, probably because of Memorial Day. So thanks very much for joining me today. I think it's early doors there, midday to like 5 p.m., something like that, depending on where you are in the States. But amazing to have you in. Thank you very much. We've also got Jeff Whisky in, of course. Thank you very much, buddy. You should probably have a moderator spanner, my friend, but we'll sort that out for next time. Andrew Butler's in. Thank you very much, Andrew. I'll be interested to know if you've tried some of these guys' spirits, because you are a man in the know, and I imagine you have, but if not, maybe soon. It's good liquid. We got Boss Wardrop in. Thank you very much for coming in. Wraith is in as well, of course. As always, feel free to chat amongst yourselves in the comments, but you know, if you want to at me to ask any questions, then obviously at No Nonsense Whiskey, I'll see them pop up and we'll ask questions to our lovely guests today. At any point, if you want to ask them anything, let us know. That's the way we always roll. But don't want to waste any more of your time. We'll bring in Ali and Gordon right now and say hello. Hello, Ali and Gordon. How you doing?
Hey, Van. How are you?
Yes, very well. Yeah. As I said, a bit sunburnt, but I've got my liquid courage down here and I've got my hydration as well. So hopefully we'll all be good.
You don't look sunburned.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I was a bit worried about it being a bit pink in here. I could turn the light up and then I just look really kind of whitewashed instead. But it's a warm room as well. I've got a little fan. Hopefully no one can hear that from underneath here, but it's all good. Yeah. You guys don't look too warm up there anyway, so it's okay.
This is definitely the height of our summer, though. That's for sure. It's definitely the one best day of year.
Today has been the best day we've had all year, hands down.
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks nice and bright up there still. I think the sun's already going down here just about. Yeah.
We're still broad daylight at the moment, so yeah.
Nice. But yeah, proper introductions are in order. If for those who don't know, this is Ali and Gordon, who run Turntable Whiskies, which is a new brand on the block. I'll let you guys sort of tell us a little bit about that and who you are, basically.
Yeah, sure. So I guess Gordon and I have both kind of grown up in the whiskey industry to some extent. So we've both been working in the industry for 10 years now, but our dad has been in the industry for over 30 years. So he worked at Ember House for many years and then was part of the Glenallachie consortium and things as well.
Started at North British.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I always had an interest in whiskey from quite a young age. I don't know, I was always really fascinated in the industry, the sort of collaboration and the sort of broad mission of all the companies. It seemed more about driving Scotch whisky as a total industry forward around the world, rather than quite as cutthroat as many other industries out there. So I was always really fascinated, and I joined Benriach Distillery Company straight out of uni. So I was there for 5 years or so, and then so that was Benriach, Glendronach, Glenglassaugh, and then that company was acquired by Brown-Forman. And I stayed on for a year at that point, but in the background, Billy, Graham and Trish were pulling together a deal to acquire Glenallachie Distillery from Pernod Ricard. So I moved over with them right from the start. So I was there for 3 years or so, and that was a really amazing experience just to be in right at the beginning there, and a sort of broad variety of work. I mean, obviously part of a small team startup, you're involved in all different aspects, so it's a really good experience. And then more recently I worked with Brewdog Distilling for a couple of years. Most of my experience in the industry have been focused on the international sales side, and then Gordon and I had been always had a desire to work together and start our own project. So we've been working over the last sort of 3 years or so, really trying to pull something together. And I handed in my notice last September, and I've been working on Turntable full time since then. And we just launched the brand 5 weeks ago or so now.
5th of April.
Yeah, so it's been a journey to this point, but really exciting.
Yeah. Whereas my experience in the industry has been, again, about 10 years. I actually joined the industry, although being the older brother, slightly after Ali, a few months. And I thought, keep it. Everyone in the family's in it to some degree, some fashion or other. So I actually joined Inverhouse Distillers. So that was in 2013. And I was there for almost 9 years, fully on the sales side. So I started off, again, all international. Started off covering kind of Scandinavia and parts of kind of Western Europe. And then we're kind of restructuring the company, and I kind of moved across and did all of North America. So that's where I spent the majority of my time there, probably like 5 to 6 years covering all of North America. And then laterally I was doing Africa and the Middle East. So quite an array of markets there. And then I spent the last just shy of a year working for Douglas Lane, which was really good, really interesting, and obviously one of the oldest standing independent bottlers, and that really gave me a different perspective on the industry again as well. Getting to work with, casks from such a wide array of distilleries, there was always something new to learn and what the difference is. So that I felt that definitely gave me a kind of a boost. Obviously I knew the Inverhouse distilleries very well, but you don't often get the chance to experience others as well. So that was an amazing time too. And then, as Ali's saying, we were always kind of looking at what we wanted to do, and I'll own up that I was worried when I was handing in my notice to Douglas Lane as to how the reaction, because it was never my plan to stay so short time. Things in the background with Turntable were just moving better and quicker than we ever expected, and so I was concerned when I handed in my notice. But fortunately, they were they are a family business as well, and they totally understood it, and I'm still on good terms with them. This now, that was really nice, and that kind of goes back to what Ali says within the whiskey industry about collaboration and helping out each other and wanting the best for each other. It's a unique industry, and there's not many around like it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, as a sort of commentator on the industry rather than being in it, I dabbled in independent bottling a little bit, but it's a massively multi-layered industry, and there's always something to learn. I think the first time I sort of met up with some real cask investment people, I was like, that was an eye-opening, kind of like a layer that you never see as a consumer. It's just bubbling underneath. Trading of casks. I didn't want to get involved in any of that, to be honest with you. But yeah. From an independent bottling point of view, I've worked a little bit with Douglas Lang in the past, and they are a fantastic company. So I just imagine they had nothing better than to, congratulations for you to get going on yourself, because it's a remarkable thing what you're doing. But yeah, that kind of answered my usual first question as well, which is your whiskey origin story. So that's good. It sounds like it was inevitable, one way or another.
It's quite funny as well, because we go back and you would ask us completely separately, and what was our first whiskey as well that got us kind of going, and we would both say Old Pulteney 12.
Yeah,
because it was the staple, because it was the one in the house,
and it was in the cupboard.
Yeah,
and it was really good, but it was in the cupboard.
That's exactly the dram I started on as well.
Really?
Well, so I mean, the people watching will know this story over and over again. But I started on the supermarket blends, and then for my 25th birthday, 12 years ago, something like that, someone bought me an Old Pulteney 12, and I was just like, no idea what this is. And that's when the shutter doors opened, and I fell down the rabbit hole after that. So it's definitely, and I don't really drink it that much anymore, to be honest. I should buy another bottle, because it's still really cheap, isn't it? It's managed to keep its.
Yeah, they do a really good job with it, and they're a really nice team up at the distillery there as well. So I've been fortunate enough to travel with the distillery manager and things, Malcolm, and he's a real character and got some great stories. So
Yeah, I need to go up there. I haven't made it that far up.
It's a fair trek, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I remember years ago, my wife studied in St Andrews, so I spent a lot of time up there as I was getting into whiskey before my channel, unfortunately. And I went to visit once, and I was like, should we just casually go up to Speyside? And then I put it into Google Maps, and I was like, oh, it's so much further north than even St Andrews is. It's like a good 4 hours in the car on top of that. So yeah, we didn't. I should have, but we didn't.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, should we get into the first one then? I didn't talk to you about order, but I've always thought the best order for this would be 1, 3, 2, but only because of Pete.
We get someone asked us as well, why did we put the peated one as 2? And to be honest, there was no real reason. In hindsight, we probably should have made it number 3.
That would have made sense. But, your order's spot on though. 1, 3, 2.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not sure if anyone watching here read my blog post about this. You'll probably already know which one my favourite is, but they were all on an even par. But you've got to pick a favourite, haven't you? So it's and I might ask you guys later, but
sure.
Yeah. So I'll say a quick cheers to you while we have a sip. But...
Yeah, cheers.
One thing I will say before we get into the dram properly, I've got someone who's watching here is a guy called Jeff Whisky, who's another YouTuber, but he's really into branding. He's like a branding guy, and he loved the branding. I'm pretty sure he loved it. He might be able to tell me, but he noticed the notches in the N and the L. Yeah. And I didn't at all. I'm not a branding guy, and I was incredible that he even saw that. But it's the branding is incredible. We love the branding.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, it's really cool. Even the cuts and the letters, we thought it was ties in well to the cut of the whiskey and things like that. So it was really cool. But we worked with a design agency in Glasgow called Thirstcraft. So it was actually a really close uni friend of mine started the company about, 8 years ago or something. And it was we'd barely seen each other since uni, so it was really cool to be able to sort of reconnect and work closely together on that and things as well. But it's been a lot of fun, and we wanted, in a way, with the brand, like we wanted to step away from the sort of real traditional side of the Scotch whisky. We felt like we had a blank canvas to sort of create a more modern and slightly bolder, sort of more eye-catching blend on the shelf, or packaging on the shelf. And
we had the unique opportunity in that we don't have the history.
Yeah.
So we could do something different, whereas a lot of other, most companies that have a history, so they have that
brand equity.
They need to see you can't go too far from it, which is understandable because the traditions are amazing. So.
In some ways, we almost wanted to bring a new world whiskey brand feel back into the world of Scotch whiskey, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And all of these are blends as well, which is I mean, obviously from a personal point of view, it's great, but from a kind of like an overarching point of view, it's quite a bold thing to do to bring out a sort of blended brand.
I mean that was a sort of really big thing for Gordon and I when we were really sort of getting into the detail about working together on what we wanted to do. I think sort of shared feeling for the two of us is that we've been really fortunate to travel quite far and wide with whiskey all around the world, and there's this sort of common perception that single malt is where the quality lies and blend is really where the volume lies. It's always sort of frustrated both of us, and we really wanted to challenge that and to just do things a little differently in the space of blended whiskey. That we'd focus on small batch, 46% natural color, non-chill filtered, really innovative where possible, putting the quality first, and be as transparent as we really could. So sort of I mean, obviously you kind of asked each other like, why is single malt really taken off in these last 20 or 30 years? And obviously the quality is amazing and there's like some unbelievable whiskies, but I think people have also really bought into the connection that you feel with the brands, that you have a connection to a place, the people making the whiskey, there's that
provenance,
the history, the provenance, just there's that real connection. So we wanted to try and create that connection where possible with Turntable, that we could just share as much detail and give a full breakdown where we can.
Yeah, and then people can relate to those distilleries in their own rights, but understand what we're doing and see them in a different light.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the big standout for me when I got these samples through. Obviously, I didn't know you guys before we did that, and it's the breakdown of it all. I absolutely love that. It's my favorite thing about it, that I can literally see exactly what's in there. I've got this up on the screen here, so if I turn my head that way, that's what I'm doing. I'm looking at it. But yeah, it's astounding that you've managed to do that sort of transparency, and I think that's what people, especially people watching this, will be into. That's what kind of we are as the kind of like the super niche people. We love that transparency.
Yeah, we're the same. We're both whiskey geeks as well. So.
I mean, the only thing we missed on that is we would have loved to put the ages of each, but obviously you're not allowed. But the Scottish whisky regulations, so you're not allowed to do that. But
yeah, we'll share as much information as we can. I mean, we do plan to release a core range as well, which we won't give quite as much breakdown on the label about distillates and things, just because we don't have the guarantee of supply, and we need a bit of flexibility to change the makeup of that blend for each time we bottle each batch. But on the limited editions and things where we can be, we'll be as transparent as possible. And even on the core verbally website, social media and things, each time we bottle, we'll try and give as much of a breakdown as we possibly can. So we definitely appreciate that people want the details and the information.
Absolutely. Really, I should have thought about it ahead of time and maybe thrown some of these graphics up on the screen as well, but I'll see if I can figure that out as we go. But yeah, so this first one then, we've got
one there.
There you go. I didn't even know it was on the back of the bottle, so yeah, that's perfect. Anyone who's got a bottle will see it, but it's on your website. My blog post has the breakdown as well, and it's easily found. Track one then, nicely called to mix in with it. Track 1, track 2, track 3. I'm sure you'll have many, if you're doing a core range or something like that, I'm sure you'll have something interesting to do with that. But you've called this one Joy, Discovery, Invention. Yeah, dyslexia kicking in. I'm just going to read straight off the back of this. So you've got 17% Knockdo, 40% Linkwood, 24% Girvan, and 19% Strathclyde. Now, obviously, I haven't mentioned casks there, because that was obviously a good talking point, because you haven't, like, you've got some casks I've never even heard of. I'm gonna say this wrong, so you might have to say it. But is it Chinkapin?
Yeah, Chinkapin. Yeah, Chinkapin.
Yeah, genuinely don't know what that is.
Chinkapin was one that I kind of got a bit of experience with working at Glenallachie at the time. So it's a type of sort of virgin oak coming from Missouri. So I always think of it as a sort of virgin oak style that will give you lots of the vanillas, toffee, caramel, but will give you much heavier spice than some of the sort of more standard virgin oak that you'd expect in whiskey. So definitely more of a peppery spice coming from the chinkapin as well.
Yeah, and it's I think this is probably a good intro to your range, because it's probably the most, I mean, dare I say, the most kind of Scotch-like of them all. I said in my sort of tasting notes that I mean, it's obviously got a good wedge of liquid in it, but for me, it's got the liquid DNA all over it. It's got that kind of waxiness quality to it. But the grains in it as well really kind of raise the bar. And I know, again, along with blends, grains sometimes get a bit of a bad rap as well, but completely incorrectly.
Oh no, massively. Like for us, I think again, like when you say grains, sometimes get that bad reputation that it's just the way grains are used, or the way they're matured, or the age that they're being released at. But for us, like when we're releasing these whiskies, we wanted to really make a point that grains are not there to fill out the recipes. Grains are there to bring a totally different element, and to like the grains that we worked with in this one, I think the Girvan's 25 years old.
25-year-old.
The Strathclyde's 19. So like we're working with older grains for sure that bring something completely different to the product. And in a way, I think that comes through most on track one.
Yeah,
more so on track one than track 2 and 3. And I mean, I think you and I both have like quite a similar palate. That we love that liquid style, that sort of grassy, waxy, classic, and then virgin oak or bourbon cask shines through.
Really well. Yeah, and definitely to be kind of track one, it's that kind of discovery one as well. Yeah. It's probably the most, dare I say it, kind of easy going to create, to catch a wider audience to get into the brand, and that's what we really wanted to. We want it to be approachable and get a kind of newer generation into whiskey as well, and be that kind of discovery and that kind of aha moment, that Pilney moment you had with it. Yeah, we'd love to be that. Aspirations.
But definitely sitting there, like going through each of the casks and the samples and things, even before we're thinking about combinations and blends, like I definitely get just as excited about working with the green whiskies and the older grains. Like they're really cool whiskies.
Yeah, absolutely, completely agree. I'm massively into my grain whiskey. And for me, I mean, I've tried some really great ones at 15, but 25 years, 25 years is when it really starts to sing. Something kind of magical happens, I think. I would love to know when the turning point is, but when it's too youthful, that's obviously what happens, isn't it? In the big industry, things, I mean, I'm going to pick on it, but the Hay Club is my favorite sort of picking point, because they obviously just chuck it out after 3 years, and it doesn't do grain any favors, but it is what it is. It is what it is. But again, the interesting barrel choices and cask choices, you've got your Girvan's in ex-red wine, and your Strathclyde is in ex-cognac, and your Linkwood is in virgin oak, which is insane. I mean, you must have had an absolute whale of a time picking these drams.
I suppose actually, I mean, even when we started the thought process about creating a blending house and turntable, like we did need those sort of 3 years to get the whiskey into casks that we'd selected and really put our own print on the direction that we wanted to take them in, and do long finishing periods and things. So
for us, we couldn't have launched earlier than we did because they needed the time. So because we started acquiring the casks, or the majority of our casks, in 2020, so early 2020. So by the time we got the wood as well and done our re-rack program and looking at what we wanted, we knew we needed that time. So we always had like earmarked was kind of
2023.
2023 was the earliest that we could do anything, and it's worked out nicely for us.
Yeah, you bang on schedule. That's commendable for sure.
But I mean, like obviously the virgin oak is kind of easy to speak to, but working with the red wine and the ex cognac cask for the grain whiskies was pretty cool as well, especially the cognac. I think that comes through quite a bit on the overall blend. The red wine, I think, is really, really subtle, but the cognac and the chinkapin and the virgin oak definitely are the cask types that shine through the most for me.
Definitely. I think my favorite thing about this dram, I would say, is that all I've got to do is bring up the list of stuff that's in it and stare at one particular brand or barrel type, and I start getting the notes from that once I'm staring at it.
Nice.
And it just changes every time I drink it, which is really good. This was, spoiler alert, this was a second favorite, but there's a reason why, and we'll get into that on the dram in question. But I was very surprised by one of them. But
Nice.
yeah,
it's funny you talk about the different elements. Like when we started, like obviously we were trying to think of the best way to go through tasting notes and things as well. And like I think we both feel tasting notes is a really personal thing, and we wanted to keep it fairly light and more experiential and things, just to say this is where this whiskey takes us. This is what it does for us. What does it do for you? Kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even on the branding side, there's kind of subtle hints through the color scheme that we've used in the branding for each that just kind of lead you in a kind of a direction, but at the same time, it's like make up your own mind. And we decided just to do that, just that leading note, just one for each, and that's it. And then
we started by thinking that we do more detailed for each, but it was Gordon that said just think we should keep this really concise, and I'm glad we did. I think it was a really good show.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, going back to when I started my channel, coming up for 7 years ago now, when I came up with the concept of no nonsense whiskey, it was to basically be an alternative, not an antithesis, but an alternative to extreme tasting notes. And I wanted to take the flavor wheel down to just the core elements to it. So when I go on about citrus rather than like Seville oranges and things like that. Not to say that, like you said, it's extremely personal, and some people have had amazing experiences around the world that allow them to pull these tasting notes out. But for me, sitting in this little room in the Midlands in England, I'm very understudied on tasting notes, so I just stick to the basics.
Nice.
And that's exactly what you've done here. You've sent one leading note that each cask brings to the table, and in this case, it's vanilla, toffee, red summer fruits, and pineapple.
Yeah,
and that's it. Job done. And I think that's commendable. A real lovely drama. I think we've talked about this one for quite a lot, so I'm concentrating. And we're gonna, if you're okay to move on, I've got all mine lined up. But we're gonna move on to track 3 now, which again is unpeated, and this one's called Purple Haze, which I imagine is a Jimi Hendrix reference, but
exactly. The first one's actually a Biffy Clyro reference. So Joy, Discovery, Invention is the first song on Biffy Clyro's first album. So we thought it sort of, I don't know, Joy, Discovery, Invention. It really kind of sang to what we want to do as a brand and what the direction we want to go in. But we also, I don't know, feel kind of connected to the band. It was like we listened since a young age. It was the first concert I ever went to, and it was just it felt really fitting as the title for the first track. But Purple Haze, no real close connection to Jimi Hendrix for us, other than it's pretty cool music, and I think it goes really nicely with a sherry bomb, a heavily sherried whiskey. But again, the whole music and whiskey thing is totally personal as well. So this is like, we think it works well, but I think it'd be kind of cool to hear what music people think would go well with the whiskey as well. I'd love to hear anything on that too.
Yeah, and I kind of love all of that kind of mixed in together. And this is the one that surprised me the most. I tasted them in this order, and like historically, it's not that I don't like sherry, but I've found like I've got quite a strong aversion to sulfur, and that comes out sometimes in sherry. Yeah. So I don't tend to buy sherried whiskies just in case, because it's a lot of money to spend on a dram. But this one here is, utterly astounding. Like they're all good, but this one is utterly astounding in my opinion. And we've got here 42% Krugelliki Oloroso sherry butt, 44% Balmenic PX, and then 14% Invergordon X sherry. So that's a lot of sherry. Yeah.
Well, I think the beauty of sherry, I think one thing that we've kind of felt on, there's a lot of people now that really go heavy on the sherry, and actually we think that depending on the distillates that you're using, you can actually lose a bit of that, and not actually, you're almost tasting just the sherry depending on how you use. So the beauty of being blended as well on this is that it allowed us the opportunity to really balance and fine-tune what we wanted, and choosing spirits that we felt that can hold up to certain cask types has really worked well for us. And this is the highest malt content across the 3. It's pretty heavy on the malt. But I think, what was it? How many casks? It's only three.
Three casks.
Yeah, there's only three casks that we used in the whole.
Yeah.
But so the global release is actually only 3 casks that went into that. So one of each.
But I think definitely what Gordon's saying was really, really true. Like, I think there's, I mean, again, it's all personal, but for me, the feeling on a lot of sherry whiskey today is that it can be really sort of thin spirit in overly PX wet sherry casks that, I mean, it's just so dominant. So I think, like, being able to use certain distillers, so Craig Ellicky, like really meaty, heavy style of spirit that can easily stand up to the bolder flavors coming through the sherry cask, and same with Balmenic. Like, Balmenic's such a great whiskey such a great distiller's spirit to use for blending is fantastic. And then obviously we wanted to keep the malt content on this one higher because we wanted that heavier, sort of oilier style of whiskey. And then the other side is, like, I think PX has become the really dominant style of sherry whiskey, whereas, I mean, for me, certainly, probably both of us sort of find Oloroso quite interesting as well. I think Oloroso is a bit more interesting than PX in terms of it's not all about the sweetness. There's more about the sort of spices and dry, really almost bitter, chocolatey notes coming through. So I think, again, for me on this one, I would say it's more about the Oloroso than the PX. It's that Craig Ellicky Oloroso is the real sort of leading whiskey shining through on it.
Yeah, I agree. This, I mean, it's kind of dark and rich, and it's got a real kind of thick mouthfeel to it. But the grain here, I don't sort of get much of it on here. It's there. I can sort of sense it's happening. But for me, it's that kind of like luxurious thickness, the viscosity that's really like brings this one through for me. Because it's, like you said, it's not like high on any of the sherry scales. It's not extreme PX. It's not extreme Oloroso. It's just all nicely together. And just like the first one, every sip brings something different to the table for me, depending on what my mood and how long it's been sat out and all things like that. But yeah, it blew me away, this one, how much. Maybe I went into it with lower expectations because of my aversion to sherry. But I mean, it's fantastic. This is.
Oh, thanks very much. We really happy with this one, and I think consumers today like sherry matured whiskey is a really popular style as well. So we definitely wanted to have a sherry matured whiskey and
it plays into that
first set of releases. But again, the grain whiskey on this one, it's Invergordon, isn't it? Invergordon. I think we're 19 years old on that as well. So it's I mean, typically on the grains that we've used for the first 3 releases, we are that sort of 19 to 18 to 25.
Yeah.
And then the malts were typically sort of, I think the youngest is the 8 years old on the Caolila, which we went slightly younger for peated, and then I think we're around the 14. So between 8 and 14 or so for the malts.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and it's genuinely a shame that we couldn't see that as well on the kind of liveries. But I think you'd have had a much easier. I don't know how it's been going, but you have a much easier time selling it if we could have put them on there. But I get it, it's rules are rules.
So interesting. Again, there's always one of these question marks, and like when it's a blended whiskey and you're releasing. I mean, our RSP in the UK was £70, so the recommended retail price was £70 or £69 for each of these, and you quite often get the challenge was it's a blended whiskey and it's non-age statement. I think, well, hold on, like, it's a blended whiskey, but actually we're putting a lot of care into the blending and the marrying time and things, and it's far more complicated for us to take this approach than it would have been to take the route of an independent bottling for us. So the blending is really it's a lot of care to detail from our side. And then also when you hear the non-age statement question, I think, well, the youngest whiskey we've used across these is 8 years old, but I don't want to put 8 or 9 years old on any of them when 25% of it is 25, 26 years old. So we prefer to keep it as non-age statement and leave. And
even to that, I think whilst it's a harder sell for us, I think from a brand position, being non-age stated is better because it helps ask the questions and challenge that questions, and it draws the conversation as to, well, why? And people might not necessarily understand exactly what we're doing and what's going into it and the different ages and why and what. And I think that's a really nice problem to have, although it can be a problem at times,
for sure,
because you need to get spirit into people's minds and actually talk and interact is really important.
Exactly, and I mean, ultimately, what we're trying to do in some ways is improve the perception of a category of blended Scotch whisky and operate in a niche. And obviously, there's going to be challenges there, as you say, but the best opportunity we think for that is to get liquid on lips, get people tasting, and get us talking and explaining about what we're doing and why we're choosing certain whiskies and what the process is.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of sort of buying habits, have you seen people buy them as a set, or are you seeing people go down a specific flavor profile first and then maybe?
It has genuinely been quite even. So right now we're in the UK, Germany, and France, and we have some shipments going further afield, but they'll take a little longer until they're available in the market. So there's some going to Canada and out to different markets in Asia, but that will be a few months away before they land. But across the UK, Germany, and France, I would say the split has been pretty even. The Purple Haze Track 3, the sherry matured, I would say is just leading the way,
probably.
But it has been surprisingly even across the three.
Actually, it definitely is. It's weirdly different areas and people you talk to, and
some
dive straight to the peat, some dive straight to the sherry, and others go straight to track 1.
It's really nice actually. Going through and hearing the feedback from different people, and it's not always what you'd expect. Even people I know and what I feel their palate is, it can be different feedback from what you think. So even with the peated release that we have, it's not a given actually that it's big peat fans that love that peated whiskey. It can be varied because we're blending and maybe it's a slightly lighter, more balanced style of peat. It's not quite so smoke forward, that sometimes actually it's non-peat drinkers that are enjoying that as well. So it's been really varied, really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was going to go into that when we get into the third dram, because it's that was my experience as well. As a hard fought peat fan, I didn't like it when I started drinking whiskey, and I had to really knuckle down. It probably again expectations, because I made the mistake of reading everything before I tried the drams, and I probably went into it with really high expectations and expecting to like a big peat bomb. But again, I think I said I'm bringing up my own article now, but I said it's, again, still an incredible whiskey. But I think I thought the virgin oak would take over a bit more. I'm getting ahead of myself though before we start talking about that, but maybe it's a good opportunity to segue into that.
Go for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Why not? But yeah, going back then to track 2, which is a Kalila mainly, right? It's
the peated whiskey coming through, and the leading note is definitely coming from Kalila.
Yeah. So reading out, we've got 40% Kalila oak barrel. So that's I think it's just a standard Kalila,
virgin.
It's virgin. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Cameron Bridge, which is a distillery I love. When it's well aged, and I imagine that's another well aged one, right?
Yeah.
Ben Rinnis and an Inver Gordon as well. So this has got quite a lot of grain in it, and a good wedge of Kalila. So this is, I mean, for me, it's
the Cameron Bridge is 20. Yeah.
Amazing. And as a peat fan, this is a really easygoing peated whiskey for sure. I think this would I dare call it a bridging whiskey? Maybe not quite, but I think it's definitely in that sort of category, in that sort of vein, to get someone into peat. If I had something like this around when I was trying my hardest to get into it, I might have got it there a bit quicker.
But, no, for sure. But it's interesting. So I would definitely say a bridging whiskey into the world of peat for sure. But actually, at the same time, when there's some people that are
go all peat. It's like the sherry conversation again with peat. So how peaty and how smoky can you get it? And it's not a field that we felt, particularly to start with, that we wanted to play in. And we wanted to shout about the blending, and we want to showcase the other elements as well that are in it. I think the big thing for us actually was actually the marrying time and how that really brought the blend together. So leaving it for over 3 months it probably developed the most
of the
three. We saw the biggest change in character. So it was probably the one that we were the most proud of on that side, and how the blend came together from that.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a really well sort of integrated whiskey. The peat is really well integrated to the overall dram that it is leading the way, but it's one of these whiskies where there's genuine layers to it, which I love. Like there's a real journey of going through track 2. So I think it's a really, really interesting one.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember someone saying to me when I sort of dabbled with, excuse me, infinity bottles, and someone was saying to me like a smoky blend, like a blend like dare I say Johnny Walker, must be like something like 7% smoke, ends up dominating the thing. So for this to be 40% smoke, I'm assuming the rest of them are unpeated.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, I mean, it's undoubtedly smoke forward. It's undoubtedly Kalila. And the other ones for me on initial assessment didn't play too much of a huge part, but exactly like you said, once you start like leaving it out to air for a good wedge of time, spending some time with it, I've poured out all the rest of my sample, so I'm going to be drinking this after the stream.
Nice.
Quite right. But yeah, it's all in there. And again, it's one of those ones where when I'm staring at the words, like I didn't get pear the first time I tried it, but then I'm staring at pear and suddenly I've got pear. And that's what I love about it. It's again, a nice, easy drinking peated whiskey. And I think genuine peat fans would enjoy it. Like you said, maybe like the people that go hardcore peat.
I don't think it's necessarily for the big Octomore fans necessarily, whereas they're looking for something quite specific, which again, it was.
This is like a step away, keeping some peat, save that massive hit for
which there is a time and a place for sure, but it's just not exactly what we were trying to achieve with this whiskey. We wanted it to be more that just with the different layers, so smoke forward, but a well balanced blended whiskey that is it can be a bridging whiskey. It can attract new consumers to the peated, but it's multi-layered and it has different dimensions to it that come through the more you go back to it.
Big question I have for this one is, I mean, this one, you correct me if I'm wrong, but this one strikes me as the one that would have been the most challenging to get right. But how do you feel about that? Which one do you think was the most challenging?
I'd probably say track 1 actually. So I don't know how to describe that. I just think track 3 going for the sort of big sherry style, although we had something specific in mind and working more with the Oloroso and the heavier styles, we felt quite confident. We knew how to get there and what we wanted to achieve. And track 2 as well with the peated style. I mean, there was a lot of working through different combinations and different recipes and things, but overall, again, we kind of knew what we wanted in terms of the Kalila shining through and then balancing out. But I think track 1 was kind of interesting in trying to really achieve some of these sort of tropical notes. And although you could say, I mean, for the sherry, you'd say it's Craigellachie Oloroso forward, probably, or certainly Oloroso forward, I would say. For the peated, you'd say Kalila is the leading note. For track 1, I think in a way, a lot of people will say liquid, but for me, it's probably the older grains that combined are the real sort of lead notes on it, and that was interesting to try and develop it in such a way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you guys have done a wonderful job, especially with an opening salvo. I imagine this isn't going to be the last for you guys. I imagine you've got plenty of things in the future working up.
We're working away at it, so we've got
one of the big things to us was starting the business. We say it was all about 2020. That's when we started buying casks and laying them down, and it was very much thinking to the future. So it's about building the brand. So we've got, as Ali said, we've got the core range that's going to come out tail end of the summer, going into autumn. Some point, depending how that all pulls together on the bottling date, etc. We've got another cool limited edition coming out later this year, and then we'll have probably the 2024 limited editions will be the next ones to that.
Yeah.
But
we've got some fun ideas. We do want to stay innovative as well, but we can, and keep things interesting. So there's definitely
there's a lot of different
lots
directions.
to work on, lots to look forward to. Yeah.
There's the beauty of being a blend. There are so many options and things available to you. It's just then it's actually working out how do you do them and what's the result you're going to get from doing them.
Yeah, and as Gordon said as well, like a huge part for us as well just now, it's not just the here and now and the blends right now, it is the stock management and trying to build our stock in a way that is really scalable and exciting and interesting going forward, working with really good casks, some innovative, interesting casks as well, but also laying down sufficient stock that we can scale this properly.
Now, I'm not sure if you can answer this question because I didn't check with you beforehand, but are we talking when we're talking about the different barrels here? Are we talking about 4 individual barrels, or are you talking about like batches of these barrels? So, like for instance, the Kalila oak barrel, is that a bunch of barrels?
So for that release, it was 2 Kalilas, one Ben Rinnes, one Cameron Bridge, and one was it Invergordon?
So for the most part, right now we have worked on full cask blending. I think on the core as well, we are probably thinking stick to mainly full cask blending, but there is opportunity that we're not tied to that. We can get really really precise in the different liters and very exact. But
Ali's already thinking this and it's giving me a headache.
Are you the spreadsheet guy, Ali? Then
I'm the spreadsheet guy.
You're the spreadsheet guy. Yeah.
In general,
I appreciate that. I'm a spreadsheet guy.
Where possible, sticking to full cask blending is probably the preference, and it's almost like in some ways what we're doing as well is trying to take a single malt approach into the world of blending in terms of what we do. So again, if we're pulling together our first bottlings of core range, if I think to our time at Glenallachie in terms of bottling 12, 18, 21, and how you would pull these blends together and exactly what we're doing. I mean, again, we're usually looking at full cask blending, like I said. So is in some ways trying to bring that single malt approach into what we're doing. Yeah.
I mean, that's where being an independent bottler blending house has got to be a bit freeing as well. Like trying to match that flavor profile of a core range year in, year out. It must be the most challenging thing.
That's a really good point, because that's one thing that actually we're going to shout about in the core range is, we are a small blending house that every cask is different. Everything that you bottle will be different. So there will be differences. Yeah. So we're saying, we're not trying to be perfectly consistent, but we're trying to create the best whiskies we can all the time with what we've got available to us. So you will see, even on the core range, from bottling to bottling, there will be differences. Yeah. But as Ali alluded to, even on like Glenallachie there, they're 12-year-old from 5 years ago versus a 12-year-old now will be very different. Again, it's that world of single malt. Yeah. And actually what we want to shout about as well is the likes of your Johnny Walkers, what they can do for consistency and at that scale is unbelievable. Like it's amazing that the skill level to be able to do that. So we're saying that's fantastic, but we don't have the availability of the stock to be able to do that at the start.
And it's not, we don't want to. Yeah, it's not exactly what we want to be as well. We're just slightly different in terms of got huge appreciation for what these guys are doing, and it is incredible. But I think the top priority is consistency and making sure that you can repeat these recipes and you can keep that level of quality all around the world at all times. Whereas our top goal is not quite the same. I would say we're happy to accept a slight variation in nuances, and in some way we would actually celebrate that in batch to batch, and it keeps things really interesting for us. But we don't want to shy away from using some amazing casks out of fear that we can't recreate that exact flavor at a different time. So I think both both companies are can do really exciting things, and it's not to say what we're doing is better in any way. It's just doing doing it a little differently, and what really excites us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's commendable, and I like that sort of thing as well. And especially like bottlings like this, the special bottlers where they're gonna have a start and a finish, and when they're gone, they're gone. I don't know anything about sort of like the size of your outturn, but I imagine
about 1,500 bottles of each.
Okay.
Give or take.
So they're going to be around for a while. And hopefully, you'll be able to keep that going as well, because there's nothing worse than people getting really popular and then not being able to get the stock anymore. So yeah.
These first ones are
we're from our side.
We're completely gone on these first ones, but
amazing.
We're delighted. I mean, really pleased with that. But we'll, as we said, the stock position we built up, we can keep things coming and we can keep it exciting. And although these won't be available again, we'll have lots in the pipeline, and lots to look forward to.
Absolutely. In the sort of dying throes of the show, we've got a few questions knocking up, but it's a good opportunity for me to say thanks to Eric for becoming a member of YouTube as well. So thanks very much, dude, for that. I appreciate it. Not really a question necessarily, but Whiskey Lovely Kelpin saying he's going to be joining a tasting of yours in the middle of June. So I imagine you're hitting social quite hard and trying to get some tastings out there, like you said. Yeah,
we're doing a tasting with the guys from TV Watts and Dram Busters as well in the middle of June. So I'm assuming it's that one, unless I'm getting my diary mixed up. There's another one, which there might be, but I've got that one planned. And as we said, we want to get liquid on lips and share with as many people as we can. So that's awesome. So thanks so much for lining that up and joining. Yeah.
Excellent. My friend Ben Marnett's asking, what do you do with your used casks? Are you filling them, or are you getting them gone, or doing something interesting with them?
So I would say a lot of the casks that we acquired, I would say the quality of the spirit was really good. Sometimes the quality of the wood was pretty average, so we have done a lot of re-racking. I mean, most of what we've acquired,
about 90% of everything we've acquired now has been re-racked
into wood that we've selected. But the wood we've selected, so the virgin oak and the used red wine casks and things like that, we will certainly refill. So we'd be as we're buying sometimes some of the younger whiskey that we're buying just now that's going to sit for quite a lot longer before we consider bottling. We'd be putting into some of these second fill and refill casks, but there will be a lifespan to that as well. We've not really discussed that yet, but I would say we're probably, if it's a virgin oak, we'd probably get a first fill, a second fill, and then I think we'd be thinking about either a rechar or sell on, or what best to do with that cask. But certainly, reusing to the stage of first or second fill will be important for us. Yeah.
That's amazing. So you really are thinking quite far into the future then with the plan of what you're doing. Yeah,
I guess our background in the industry has all been stock planning is the area that we probably think about the most. Even, as I said, when we started thinking about working together and things, stock was just absolutely king to everything we do.
I mean, that must have been absolutely terrifying then to work out the stock levels and then to actually finally release something. Must be genuinely terrifying.
But terrifying, but really exciting as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's, every week for both of us, there's always some headaches out of somewhere that you just don't know where they're going to come from. But there's always
headaches. I say learnings.
Yeah,
opportunities. Yeah,
we do have these discussions that it's important that we stay solution focused and not problem focused. And I'd say Gordon's definitely better at that than me. You're very relaxed about everything. I get a bit tense, but.
I guess that must be an interesting thing as well, because for me, I mean, my very limited dabbling in independent bottling was literally, I've done 3 bottlings and they've all been single cask. Yep. So for me, when reviews start coming in for it, anything that was a bit like not positive, I was like, well, I didn't make it. I just picked it. I liked it. It's no bother. But if you're literally making it, that must be a whole different dynamic.
Yeah.
I mean,
we've been very fortunate. I think that's the beauty of it. Whiskey is so subjective too. So we know that, it's not for, certain ones are not for everyone. Like peat's not for everyone, or heavy sherry's not for everyone, or whatever. Everyone's palate's different. So everyone's entitled to their views and their thoughts. And I think we want to be, whilst it's you don't like to see it, but at the same time you're respectful of it, and it's like, fair play. I actually respect your honesty in telling us that. We'd rather have that, and then we can try to do better on that if that's the way we feel we need to go. Yeah. Or I think we've been very fortunate in that generally the perception and the feedback we've had on these has been really good, and that's been that was probably the thing that kept us up the most
nervous about it, I would say. But in general, the feedback on the first 3 releases has been really, really good. But it's, I don't know, everybody, there's always going to be at least one opinion where somebody doesn't like the whiskies, and I think you just got to not take it to heart and do the best you can going forward. But it is subjective, and working to the best of our abilities to release the best whiskey we possibly can. So we'll continue to do that. I think the one thing you and I can always take comfort on, that we know we're never taking shortcuts, we're never cutting corners, we're never cutting costs. Like everything we're doing, we are genuine whiskey enthusiasts, and we're trying to release the best we can every time.
No, I think that's shining through, and it's good that you've done all 3 at the same time, because then people can go with their natural disposition on tasting palate and pick that one first, and then maybe explore the others later. I didn't ask this before as well, but do you sell a tasting pack of the 3 or anything like that, or is that something?
Not currently. But we have had some really good feedback on the little sample packs that we did to get put out at the start. So I'd say it's, when we do the core range, it's something we're exploring. It might take a little bit of time because
it's expensive, right?
It's expensive. But the beauty of having blends that that are at the same price point is that there is a better opportunity, so that you could actually hit a retail price point that is more affordable, rather than like when you get a mini gift pack of like a non-age, a 12-year-old and an 18-year-old, but you're paying the same as like the bottle of a 12-year-old. You think, well, I'm only getting, so I can totally get. So I think there definitely is an opportunity there. I think on my side, it's starting to think about even on the kind of procurement side, like buying the glass, the labels, everything. Like what does it look like, and how do we make that happen? So I think there's an element there where we just needed a bit of time just to work it out. But it's something we definitely want to explore, because as we say, trial we feel is really important to us. So.
It's one we definitely work towards on the core range in the first instance, and try and see how we do that.
Perfect. Yeah. And then there's, again, not really a question, but Whiskey on the West Coast saying he's late to the show today, but can't wait for these blends to hit the shores in Canada. And I know you talked a little bit about exports before. Have you got much going over that way?
Yeah, we're going to Canada. So we're going to Western Canada initially. So BC and Alberta will go in there. We'll get the first order.
I think it's shipping this week.
Yeah, shipping this week. So it takes about 8 weeks on the water, unfortunately, but it's coming.
Yeah.
I think export-wise has been, as I say, that's our background. So we're very fortunate that we do have a lot of people around the world, and distributors that we work with, that we have really great relationships with, that buy into what we and share a similar philosophy to us. So we've been really keen to work with them. So I think we're in about 9 markets now, I think, for these first ones. And then when the core comes, we'll probably look to open a few more.
But I don't know. It's kind of interesting in our background as well, as we do cover a lot of the map, but we're a little different in that.
Yeah.
You've done sort of North America a lot. You've done the States, Canada, Scandinavia, Africa.
Yeah.
And for me, it's really been, most of the time, it's been Europe and Asia. So we do cover quite broadly, but I think it's interesting the question coming on Canada, though, because I think we've both got a real soft spot for the market, and it was the first market either of us ever managed the export sales to. So it's definitely a soft spot, and I always loved going over to BC and Alberta and Canada.
We actually had a good one where we were in Alberta. Ali had been traveling before, and then we arrived in Calgary, and I was traveling, Ali was traveling, we were separate, and we had a kind of family WhatsApp group, and just gave a wee update. And Ali put up that's me just arrived from Calgary. I was like, are you in Calgary? I'm in Calgary. Yeah. So what are you up to? Like we had a spare evening because we had a show the next day. It was the Co-op Whisky Festival the next day. So we caught up, and then we're like, okay, I'll see you at the show, whatever. Next thing you know, we get to the show, and we're on stands side by side. It's like
different brands,
different.
That's
Different
amazing.
brands. So that was a lot of fun. One of these random ones, and we talk all the time. So it's like, how did we not?
It was crazy. It was really bizarre, that one. Yeah.
I mean, one final question for me then would be, I mean, obviously the dynamic looks like it's great, but what is it like to work as kind of brothers in this industry? I mean, you've sort of like been not shoulder to shoulder, but you've been sort of skirting around each other on different parts of the industry for a while now.
Yeah. I think the best thing on that, or the funniest thing, was like we knew we wanted to do something together. We wanted to work together for 10 years, and then actually when we were talking about Turntable, and we thought, one of the things we need to set is roles and responsibilities. Who's going to kind of do what. I think and it's just the two of us. There's massive overlap in everything, but who's ultimately kind of responsible and makes the decision? And Ali said, "Well, I'm quite keen on this, this, this." I was like, well, that's good because I'm keen on this, this, and this. It's like, well, that's good. Neither of us wanted it. We both wanted to do the different things. So it's actually, that definitely helped us, for sure.
It's funny because I think, like, to all of our friends and stuff, like, they'd say we're really similar in a lot of ways, but work-wise, I don't know, we're quite different, and it's kind of the dynamics working quite well. I'm always sort of in a race to make decisions, get things done quite quickly, and you're quite good for being more measured. The
spreadsheet guy here.
Sometimes I'm quite good for speeding Gordon up, and sometimes you're quite good for slowing me down and saying, actually, we need to get this right. So the balance has been really good so far. Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Hopefully, it's not just a honeymoon period.
Yeah, well, hopefully as the brand grows and David talk about money, but when the money starts rolling in, because I imagine it's not it's not very profitable right now, but that's always the start, isn't it? And I wish the best to both of you because it's a fantastic brand. The whiskies are good. These first 3 releases are excellent. I implore everyone to check them out, and I said so much in my blog post as well. But I'll look forward to bringing you to the channel whenever you do new stuff.
No, thank you.
Yeah,
we'd love to. No, thanks so much for having us on, and to people for listening, and just for being part of the journey and like giving us a chance. It really means a lot, and as we said, it makes all the difference being able to talk about the whiskies, share them, let people try. It's everything for us. So,
actually getting feedback is what we want. There's nothing better than that when you put something out to hear what people actually think. It means a lot to us, but it's like, how do they relate to them? Yeah, definitely.
But no, I mean, certainly on the next set, anytime you give us the opportunity to come on the channel, we're more than happy to do it. So love to chat.
Excellent. No, yeah, absolutely. It's good to have people that are actually sort of like hands-on with it, and actually creating these things. So yeah. I'll say it again, it's an excellent set of whiskies. There's links below if people want to check them out, because I think, although you said you've sold them out, I think they're still knocking around on.
That's still.
So that's just from our end. So like
we're all at store.
So we're not selling. We're not offering more cases to retailers and things, but there's still stock available from the retailers just now.
Yeah, and I think they're all listed on our Instagrams and on the website, so everything's there.
Well, that's a good segue, because I was going to ask you how do people get hold of you? How do people find you on social media and whatnot?
Yeah, Instagram's probably the strongest one.
Yeah. So at Turntable Spirits, and so we're on Facebook, Instagram. Instagram's the strongest. There's the website, and then in terms of retailers, you'd find a list of retailers on the website. We're not selling directly through our website, so we work with the specialist retailers around the UK who have done. Yeah, they've been fantastic and supporting us at the beginning as well. So we want to support them as best as we can as well. So there's some really good retailers that we're working with as well.
Excellent. Yeah, I've just dropped a link into the chat, but there's links in the description below if people are interested. hopefully people have been watching across YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Although Twitch is not really a whiskey place, so I do it because I can, but I don't think anyone really picks that up. But
people can't, they won't find us there. So
yeah. Excellent. Yeah, thanks for coming on, guys. Thanks for giving up the evening of your bank holiday, and everyone else for watching as well. I said before the show, I didn't realize this was bank holiday when I booked it originally. So thanks everyone who showed up to watch. But this will be obviously ready to watch on replay forever, as long as YouTube exists. So yeah, it's been a really good chat, guys. Thanks very much for coming along. I'll say cheers to you guys, and good luck with it all, basically, because it's been a really good set of whiskies.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Really appreciate it. Thanks.
Right. See you everyone soon.